Hi, I'm Jordan Worsley and welcome to the inaugural edition of the Czech Weekly, some of the news that happened in or around chess. We talk about news that affects the sport, the players and the fans, so in 10 minutes you will be up to date with what's been happening in chess. Today we'll be talking about Magnus Carlsen wins most of the Magnus Carlsen tour. A little weird, if you ask me. Trump calls Putin a great chess player. Mr. Trump, you should keep chess out of it. Sergei Karjakin talks about racism in chess. Hikaru Nakamura is the most popular chess player on Twitch, and we like it. Candidates tournament is up in the air. Carlsen is no longer in the lead of the Fantasy Premier League. Jay-Z's chess moves in Black is King are actually pretty good. Belarus, the country that tried to host the next Olympiad, is becoming weird. The Olympics curse, maybe. The Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour was a hastily assembled set of internet competitions to keep the world's top players busy and its game-starved fans amused during the local pandemic. But let's face it, it was not meant to be an exercise in humility. Naming the tour after the world champion and the game's most marketable star made sense, of course, particularly after his sponsors and partners put up the $1 million in prizes. But you might as well have named the tour Magnus Carlsen and a bunch of other guys. In fact, for much of the tour, that might have been appropriate. Carlsen behaved like a bad host who invites people over to his house and then proceeds to eat all the foie gras, drink all the best wine, and leave only scraps and dregs for his guests. He won 3 of the 4 tournaments leading up to the final, collecting the lion's share of the prize money. In the final, however, he finally got his comeuppance, as Hikaru Nakamura, the American star who is perhaps the only blitz player in the world who can regularly stand toe-to-toe with Carlsen, won 3 of the first 5 mini-matches, putting Carlsen on the brink of defeat. Is chess racist? That might seem like an absurd question, but some take it seriously. This is based on the simple idea that the player with the white or light coloured pieces moves first, putting the player with the black pieces or dark coloured pieces at a disadvantage. And in fact, white does have a slightly superior winning percentage in games among elite players. Last year, world champion Magnus Carlsen and one of his arch rivals Anish Giri decided to make a statement against racism by playing a game in which black moved first. Billed as a move for equality, the event received a lot of publicity worldwide. Although the game symbolically ended in a draw, that did not put an end to the discussion, and the recent worldwide protests stemming from the American Black Lives Matter movement have reignited the question. Now Sergei Karjakin, Carlsen's challenger for the title in 2016, has waded into debate. He tells Interfax, if white moves first, then these are the rules. There is nothing discriminatory here. Therefore, I don't think there is a reason to seriously offend anyone. An article in the online publication The Conversation suggested that perhaps a coin flip should decide who goes first so that it really is equitable. While we doubt most top players should support such an idea, there would seem to be one group who would stand behind it: chess book publishers. Such a change would give them the opportunity to profit by rolling out whole new lines of books on opening theory. All hail the Twitch King! Chess has long seemed like an ideal game for the internet, and since the pandemic began, online sites have reported a growth in subscribers. After all, you can only talk to your living partners for so long without needing a break from them. Still, chess has seemed to struggle to break out of its niche and hit the big time. Until now. Turns out that all that was needed was someone with an outsized personality and a slightly acerbic sense of humour. And that someone turned out to be Hikaru Nakamura, the 5-time United States champion and world-class blitz player. Taking to Twitch, one of the newer technology platforms, Nakamura has racked up more than 500,000 followers and become something of a sensation. It is not the first time that Nakamura has managed to cross over to a broader market. He had a sponsorship with Red Bull for a while and has also been involved on Bloomberg about investing and how his chess acumen helps him in that field. Now chess just needs an influencer. Maybe Alexa Chung can be encouraged to take up the game. US President Trump has lashed out at his challenger in this year's election by using the royal game as a metaphor. According to TASS, the Russian press organization, Trump said that former Vice President Joe Biden and, by extension, the United States would be taken advantage of in any negotiations with President Vladimir Putin of Russia, President Xi Jinping of China, and President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey, because they are all world-class chess players. Mr. Trump, who is not known to play the game himself, did not give an assessment of his own chess prowess in the article. However, the man who has called himself a stable genius, who uses only the best words, and whose businesses have failed for bankruptcy more than 6 times, presumably thinks that he is at least the equal of his foreign counterparts. Given that, according to a tally by the Washington Post, Mr. Trump has lied more than 20,000 times since taking office, it may be that his natural game is not chess, but poker, as he seems to bluff a lot. Earlier this year, FIDE decided to go ahead with the candidates tournament in Russia rather than postponing it because of the pandemic. A seemingly brave move, or completely foolhardy one, depending on who you spoke to. Timur Rajabov, one of the players who withdrew rather than take the health risk, turned out to be something of a prophet. Of course, the tournament shut down halfway through because of the worsening health situation, with the federation promising that it would resume as soon as it was practical to do so. 5 months later, practical is looking more and more like never. Although FIDE still insists that it will resume its candidate selection sometime this year, without saying where and how, the World Championship, which was supposed to take place in December in Dubai, has been moved to next year. Who could have foreseen these problems? Evidently, Timur Rajabov, amongst others. Now, a person obviously has to be very competitive and talented to become world chess champion. That being said, it is not a complete surprise that Magnus Carlsen, the current king of chess, might be relatively good at something else. But late last year, Carlsen still shocked the world when he zoomed to the #1 position in the standings of the Fantasy Premier League, an online game in which competitors draft and play players in the league, amassing points based on how their teams do. The Fantasy League stretches across the globe with more than 7.5 million competitors, so getting to the top spot takes knowledge and skill. In the end, a less than stellar final weekend in July dropped Carlsen to 11th, though by any stretch of the imagination, that is still impressive. It seems that Carlsen will still have a competitive outlet if he ever decides to stop playing chess professionally. Jay-Z has long been known as a player. It turns out that he may also be a player. In the past, the mega music impresario, who said he learned to play chess from his father, has rapped about being the Bobby Fischer of rap and belittled his rivals, saying they only play checkers. Now, there seems to be some proof that Jay-Z really knows a king from a pawn, and then some. In Black is King, the new film from Beyoncé, Jay-Z's wife, her husband is often seen glowering over a chessboard. We haven't had time yet to actually look through the entire film ourselves, but an analysis in Slate tried to suss out what openings Mr. Beyoncé was playing. The article noted that at one point, he might have been using a Philidor defense. That would be appropriate because not only was François-André Danican Philidor widely regarded as the greatest player of the 18th century, he was also considered one of the greatest opera composers of the era, which was, after all, kind of the rap of its day. In 2022, chess Olympic teams from nearly 200 countries were supposed to come to Belarus for the Chess Olympiad, a massive chess tournament and the sport's biggest event. The country's authoritarian president Alexander Lukashenko met with the heads of FIDE, the chess governing body, and assured them that the country would be an amazing host. But then the mass protests erupted in Belarus following what appears to be a fixed presidential election and numerous members of the opposition being arrested. Mr. Lukashenko, famous for his displays of macho bravado, responded to the peaceful protest by appearing outside his presidential palace waving an automatic rifle. Not a good sign for a major chess event. Belarus is known in the world to employ sports as a marketing tool for the regime. The country hosted the hockey championship a few years ago, and it also couldn't have been any more political. But after all, who hasn't done that? It's clear that FIDE will have to find a new host for the 2022 Olympics, and we've heard that Azerbaijan, the oil-rich country which hosted the Chess Olympiad several years ago, might do it again in 2022. After all, there are no protests in Baku, at least for the moment. That was the inaugural edition of the Czech Weekly. Please subscribe to watch the next editions and send us comments and suggestions and videos.